Hello, everybody. Jeff Mason with SimpleBiz360 with an exciting guest today, AMIE HOFF, coming to us from Maryland, and FitKit. AMIE, welcome, and please tell us a little bit about yourself, if you could.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Jeff. I'm excited to be here. So I guess my journey started back in high school when I really was into fitness, and I knew I wanted to do something in my life with that. And but then I got segued into a different career, found my way back here. So I've been in the fitness industry for probably about 30 years and started a couple of businesses and have found one that really stuck, FitKit, and just really excited about how it's growing. There's been a lot of bumps along the road. Yeah. But yeah, so I have a wellness, we call it a wellness product, but we're a wellness company that sells a line of wellness products. And we've grown the line over the last, I guess, 4 years. We've really expanded into different kits that we have. So
great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we are excited to learn your story, hear some, kind of entrepreneurial adventures, and also just really delve into, a word that's being used quite a bit over the last decade, wellness, and we'll have some fun doing that. A little bit of housekeeping first, everybody. If we would love you to subscribe to the show. If you watch it and love it and you just haven't done that yet, if you're watching on YouTube, go to the lower right-hand corner of the screen. You can just hover your cursor over the favicon there, the little pinwheel, and that'll take you to YouTube. You do have to be signed into YouTube to subscribe. And then again, we're on 26 audio platforms. So AMIE, anybody who doesn't watch on YouTube, we're on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, the whole ball of wax on there. On that. So we're real excited. We have Dietz and Matt behind the boards here. We are coming to you from Half Coast Studios in St. Louis. AMIE is coming to us from lovely Chesapeake Bay area in Maryland today, and we are excited about this show. So let's dive into this. So how did AMIE and I get to know each other? Well, I have a common friend that I met. As you know, one of my brand affiliations is with Tommy Copper and has been for many, many years. And a gentleman worked with Tommy Copper and was friends with the president of the company by the name of Mark Lake. So I actually met you through Mark Lake, who's turned out to be a very good friend and a nice gentleman. And so we had the pleasure of just learning about your business, looked at your company online, and just was really infatuated and thought this would be a great story to tell. So without any further ado, we'd love to get into your story, AMIE. So really, you and your sister Beth, if I understand it correctly, founded FitKit together. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
In 2010.
2010. Okay. So wow, 11 years now. Awesome.
Yeah.
So we got some of the product here, which we'll get to a little bit later. Now, you and Beth were sisters, and you grew up in a family that, if I understand correctly, you have 5 other siblings. Is that right?
6.
6 others. Okay. Wow.
6 and a half. I have a step too. So there's 8 of us all together.
Wow. Holy smokes. Well, that's an energetic family. That makes for great holiday meals. So, and then you mentioned in some of your just writings that, you come from a family that's fairly active and really love the outdoors. Can you elaborate on that a little bit about how you fell in love with activity?
Yeah. So growing up, interesting story about my background of growing up. My mother and father had 7 children. They divorced. I'm number 6. There's one younger than me. They divorced when I was 5. And whether you want to believe the courts or them, we were actually split up as a family. So 5 of my siblings went with my father and 2 went with my mother.
Oh, wow.
So my brother and I went with my mother, and the other 5 went with my father. So we lived close together, but it wasn't like we all grew up in the same household. But one of the things that my parents did is on weekends, that was our time where we were all together, separately. Yeah. If I was with my mother and all the siblings and my father and all the siblings. And my mother was really big on getting us out of the house and doing things as a group. And one of the things that we did every single summer, and we still try to do as many times as we can, but my mother's getting a little older now, is to hike the Appalachian Mountain Trail and do the AMC huts up in New Hampshire.
Wow. So
there's 10 of those. So we would literally hike from hut to hut
Wow.
and as a family and spend nights in the huts. And so we really got exposed to the outdoors and nature. And so that was something that really got me active. I think just the being in nature, being in the outdoors,
Yeah.
and getting the heart rate up. I think that early on, I understood what it did to my
Yeah.
psyche, how it made me feel being in the sunshine and fresh air and all of
Right.
that. So that was always a big thing, hiking with my mother. My father, living up basically on the Chesapeake Bay, we had a boat, and every Sunday with him, we would be out on the boat in the Chesapeake Bay. And, I really learned about how to sail and just being sort of, having to be in control of so much. And then we would do a lot of hikes with him as well along the C&O Canal. And then both of them just really encouraged sports.
Yeah.
So most of my siblings were involved in sports. My sister Beth, primarily the biggest one, she played Division I volleyball for Arizona. And then I was, of course, on the track team and, all that, did that route. So, it just growing up, there was always instilled to be active.
Wow. Wow. It's very cool. So you're with one of your brothers and your sister's with the other 5 siblings. So you became best friends. How did that work out? I mean, not being with her all the time.
Right. So it didn't really happen until we were adults. We both graduated college, and, there was a piece of me that felt I was missing, really knowing who my other siblings were deep down as adults, because we missed those formative years when they were in high school and I would go over on the weekends. They were never there. They were off with their friends. And so I really made an effort to spend time with each of them and really get to know them as their personalities and who they are. And Beth and I just, there was just a natural friendship that was born of that. And we just became really, really close. So it's weird to say that we're siblings. We are siblings, but we're also really good friends. So there's that sort of that safety, secure feeling that you get with a best friend. That's almost like you say, my friends are like family, that literally. So that's kind of just forged, and we just do a lot together. We have a lot in common. We have a lot of personality traits the same. So we just became really good friends. And I got to say, though, I will say, all of my siblings, surprisingly enough, were all really close, really close. I can tell you where every one of them is right now and what they're doing. So we talk a lot. We're very close, but that's a special bond.
That is so cool because, not every family, certainly we all have friends and family that, are, tell stories, and we hear a lot of different things, and that's not always the case with a family that large. So that is really neat to have that. And of course, your affinity and your love affair and your exposure to, as just that, increased heart rate activity and the, for those people who might be listening now that have never exercised or who don't get into rigorous exercise. I played college soccer. I've run 6 marathons. And when there's a certain high when you do something that's very exertion oriented, and, you really do realize, wow, your body feels different after all that. So, you get that familiarity. You've got the spread out family. You do some really cool things. For those of you never been to the Appalachian or New Hampshire, holy smokes, you're missing something. Put it on the bucket list. Get there, because it is gorgeous in New Hampshire. And certainly the Appalachians, there's tons of trails and 1,300 miles of trail, I think, and just all kinds of mountains, and very cool. So you and Beth become best friends, and now you go into business in 2010. Were there, and I think other entrepreneurs might really be excited to hear some of these anecdotes, but was there any adjustment that you two had to make going into business together that you hadn't encountered before?
Surprisingly, no.
Wow.
It really was seamless, I think, because we both bring completely different skill sets to the table. She's the business brains. She's the financial brains.
Okay.
She really understands the numbers, QuickBooks, financial reports, all of that. I'm sort of the creative side, the marketing side, the face of the brand. So it really worked out really well. Now, early on, when we were first starting this, how it started really was, at the time I was a personal trainer, and I was also a spokesperson for a number of different companies, one of them being New York sports club.
Okay.
And I loved being on TV and sharing knowledge of health and fitness. And I started getting calls from people saying, "Can you train me? Can you?" And there weren't enough hours in the day. So I wanted to come up with something that was an extension of me, so that people could have the tools and the resources as if I was training them, but I wasn't there. And so that's kind of how my head kind of wrapped around this. And I went to Beth, and she kind of saw this really as more of a hobby than anything. She's like, "Yeah, let's try this. This will be fun." And then once we got into it and we started sourcing all of the product, we did everything ourselves. We bootstrapped, we did all of the sourcing, the marketing, everything. We got somebody to do the website, but it was just sort of naturally we found our way as to which one had, the skill sets for different things.
Yeah.
Just worked out really well. And then what happened is when we launched, right out of the gate, I had a relationship with the Dr. Oz show, with the Today Show. So we were on those shows, and it just went gangbusters. And so we both kind of went, "Oh, wait a minute here. This is, something we really need to look at. Is this really what we want to do?
Yeah.
And what do we need to take it to that place if we want to?" And we both decided, yeah, let's go for it. And so that's kind of how it started out.
Wow. So you guys figure out who's good at what. You figure out how to divide the workload. You figure out, and now very interesting. So for those entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs that are listening, so when somebody hears the word sourcing, for you might be different from what they experience. Elaborate a little bit on what you meant by sourcing. You guys sourced everything.
Yep. So the sort of signature packaging for us is it's almost like a pod zippered case. So we had to figure, oh, there you go. You got one right there. Yep. And we really wanted that. So we basically had to find a manufacturer that could make it. We also had to find a manufacturer that could make the jump rope, the tubing, the bands, everything that goes inside each of the wellness kits.
Right.
So we went on Alibaba, and we just started. Alibaba it's a great resource if you're looking for manufacturers overseas.
Right.
We just started getting samples, and I really paid attention to how people communicated. So because I wanted to make sure that we picked people to work with that, communicated really well, that had great customer service, that we were almost like a partner. I really wanted to make them part of our team.
Yeah.
We really didn't want to go to China or anywhere else to get these made. And we hired a company here in the States to find a company that could source all of these items in the States. And I got an email one day from a source that I had over in China. And she sent me a picture. She said, "Hey, is this your product? I mean, you reached out to me last year." And I was like, "Yeah." And she sent me the email chain. And the company here in the US was sourcing it in China, saying that it was in the US.
Right.
I was shocked. So I immediately called the Better Business Bureau, and I basically, said, "Look, this is what these guys are doing." And they got shut down. I felt terrible, but that's, the whole point of it. It was trying to get it sourced here. And the bottom line is, bands and jump ropes and little exercise things, you can't get it made here for, we haven't found anybody who can make it here. Everyone gets it overseas. So unfortunately, that's the case. We do a few things here now in the States, but majority of it's overseas. But we sourced everything over there.
Yeah. So you've got quite a few little elements, quite a lot of raw materials that go into, configuring a package, which we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, it's so you tackled that all on your own. We had another entrepreneur on about a year ago, a young lady who does fusion gates, and Donna, same thing. She really tackled the sourcing part of it herself and really felt compelled to learn how to do it. And again, I think that every entrepreneur, if you're going to do something that has a lot of components to it, look at it, examine it, see if that's something, you want to farm out and have someone else source it or yourself. But it certainly is no small task. Is that correct?
It's correct. It isn't. But I'm somebody who I really want to understand all the different roles in my company so that I know what goes into
Yeah.
it. That's the big thing. And the beauty of it is we, in our experience finding our two main source people, they are actually acting as our middleman. So for example, we have a set of exercise cards in there. We were doing them here for a while, but there's a lot of labor intensive to put them together. And so he was able to find somebody. So basically he does that, gets delivered to him, and he can put it all in a container together. So he sort of acts as our broker, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you need a partner, and I was going to pull one out. I'll pull one out later out of the snack stack. But so very cool. So, definitely need good partners. You need good, reliable people. You need to find those, and again, there are some, I wouldn't call, but there are just some, shysters out there you got to be careful of too. And especially when you don't know where you're getting everything from. But
Right.
to your point. So, so you growing up, just switching back a little bit. So what was your favorite activity athletic wise growing up, and what was Beth's? I mean, as you guys kind of come into one lane, did she like playing volleyball all the time?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was big. She was also big in track and field, shot put, discus. Those were her big things. And volleyball. That was primarily her outlet. We actually, there's a volleyball court right out here right now in her house. I'm in her house right now. Mine was a little different. I really gravitated towards running. That was my thing. And when we talked about the endorphins earlier, about what you get when you exercise and you exert yourself, that feeling of euphoria, I do it for my head, and the byproduct is a healthy body. So that was the one thing that I found, that I could go out for runs forever. And it's my therapy, I think. And I think about things, and I, talk into my notes on my phone as I'm running, because that's when I'm most creative. And that's always been that way. I've always kind of used that as my outlet. So, and then I got into triathlons. And so swimming and biking also sort of picked up behind me. And so Beth and I we did our first triathlon together. So we trained together. We trained also for a 100-mile bike ride out in Tucson, Arizona for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So we've done a lot together as far as fitness related things. Because again, that's just something that we share, the desire to be healthy. And to find a way to do it so it's not work. That's important.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people. I had a gentleman on from England a couple months ago, Jamie York, and a 3-mile run, if I remember it, I'm paraphrasing, was, it was really a labor for him. It wasn't something that he was accustomed to and that he embraced and he liked. We're two peas in a pod, very similar in the fact that, once I stopped playing college soccer, I started running. I lived on the New Jersey seashore. So I started running on the beach, and I had a good flat beach, 3.5 miles up one way, 3.5. So I get a nice 7-mile run in. And, once you put yourself in that position to do that, you really do. Your head, your body, it feels like, to me, it always felt like, and still does, feels like an engine that you've got everything oiled and greased right when you when you do something that's really exertive. And when you're done, it feels like you've really cleansed the car really well. And then everything's working together, everything's just gelling. And I, like you, I've been running 41 years. I just finished my 36,000 miles. So that's a lot of miles on the body, and 41 years. My knees are, I'm having a little issue right now, but that's going from New York to LA and back a whole bunch of times.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it is crazy, right? And I've saved the world at least twice in these runs, because your mind, right, is going, and you get home and you go, and then I forgot about it. So much like you, I Zoom to my computer when I finish a run, and I type in my thoughts, because yes, I am my most creative when those endorphins and the engines are clicking. So for anybody who hasn't done that or hasn't experienced that, you hear other people say that, but take it from AMIE and I, it's really something cool, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, it is. And I have to say though, for those people out there that running is not their thing, that they've tried it, they can't stand it, they can run a block and it's like they're heaving. That doesn't mean you have to run. You can still get
Right.
those same effects by any cardiovascular
Right.
exercise at all.
Right.
You know, jumping rope, you know, my new thing is Beachbody. You can go on there and you can, especially during
Right.
COVID, you can get a workout of any kind of exercise that you like. So I just encourage people
Yeah.
to keep trying different things. Something's
Yeah.
going to stick, whether it's bike riding, whether it's swimming, whether it's jumping rope, whether it's hiking. You know, just because you're not in exercise gear and sweating does
Right.
not mean that you're not getting a workout.
Right.
So
Bingo.
I think it's really trying to find what works for everybody. And I've always done this. This is my favorite thing I tell people. For those people who really don't like to exercise at all, just tell yourself mentally, go for 10 minutes.
Yep.
That's all you have to do. Just
Yep.
go 10 minutes.
Yep.
And I guarantee you 99% of the time you're going to continue, because once you get over that 10-minute mark, you really get to
Yeah.
fly. But
Yeah.
it's not as daunting if you tell yourself you're just going to go for 10 minutes.
Yeah, very good advice. I had a
Right.
taxi cab driver once in Vegas that told me he learned how to run a marathon. He was never ran in his life, but he just ran 1 minute longer every day.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, so, but yeah, so just, 10 minutes. And again, yeah, running isn't the end all, but just getting that body to a point where you're really huffing and puffing and really, you've exerted yourself. Yeah. Now I started yoga 2 years ago. Never did that. I'll tell you what, holy smokes, that can poop you out too. I mean, you really get a good half-hour zone in. I mean, that's, wow, that's crazy stuff.
And for a runner's body, that's great just for flexibility.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. So you were in, so your love affair with activity and doing stuff, it took you down an interesting career path before you kind of got into exercise, right? And what was that, if you don't mind me asking?
So when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a movie star. That was my thing. And I thought, all right, my father really wasn't, when I got out of college, I had taken a couple of acting classes and I thought, you know what, I really want to try this. And he wasn't ready to support me to go all the way out to California. So I said, there's some stuff in New York. I can do commercials, work, that type of thing. So one of my college roommates was moving and she said, yeah, I would love to get a 2-bedroom, we'll move together. So we did. And so I started pounding the pavement and taking acting classes and getting some work. And I did, a few commercials here and there and a couple little movies. But then I did a soap opera and I was on the soap opera as a regular character. And I remember I was out at dinner one night in New York, and this was years ago. I'm talking 25 years ago. And somebody recognized me and they came up to the table and they started talking to me as if I was the character. And I freaked. I didn't like it. I was like, oh my God, this is what I thought I wanted. the people to come up to me and be this famous movie star. I hated it.
Wow.
And I decided the next day I was done. Like I just didn't, first of all, too, the negativity that comes with acting, trying to go on so many auditions and being rejected, that was really getting to me. That was a really big issue for me. At the time, also, I did not want to wait tables, right? I just didn't want to go into that sort of waitressing type thing. So I went to a gym and I got a job at the front desk at Equinox, actually. Their very first flagship store in New York. It was before it was even built. And so they had a little tiny office and they had me come in and I was just helping them kind of open up the place. And then once it opened, I was working at the front desk. And then I just kind of moved my way up and I was hiring personal trainers. And then I became a personal trainer. And then I helped them start their fitness program for the trainers. So the fitness sort of really took over to the point where I didn't really care so much about acting anymore. But then one day I got a phone call from a friend of mine who is an actor friend of mine. And she said, hey, are you free? And I said, why? And she said, well, her husband, who was a stunt coordinator on one of the movies and soap operas, one of the stunt people didn't show up. And I was apparently the perfect size. And I was like, are you kidding me? I can't do stunts. She's like, come on, it's a really easy one. So I went down there and sure enough, I did the stunt. It was, it was in a tornado scene or something on a soap opera. And so then all of a sudden I was like, ooh, I like this.
Wow.
So I was able to be on the set, be part of the production, but not have my face seen and people see who I was. And so that launched along sort of parallel with my fitness career. My acting and fitness turned into a stunt career for a little while. So that was really fun. That was really fun. But then fast forward, fitness just won out. And that was sort of my love. And once I started doing more and more spokesperson work and sort of being on TV as me,
Yeah.
as a fitness professional. It was a completely different thing. So I did that for a number of years. So that kind of melded everything together.
Well, and you say in some of your, some of your presentations online, you say that what really, I'm going to paraphrase here, but what really energizes you is the ability to help people and the ability to make a difference. Explain that, because it seems like that's where the segue really went into, and wanting to explain that if you could.
Well, I think that it really came down to, I would do a lot of volunteer work. I loved just sort of giving back. And the reward that I got from doing that, from just being there with somebody, whether it was at a food bank or, I did for the, it was called inner city outings, where we would take kids from the inner city and take them out to the mountains. And, just giving them that experience and having them tell me how much it meant to them and how much it really changed them. It was sort of, I needed that more and more. And so when I work with people one-on-one, getting that reward, that inner feeling of helping somebody get from point A to point B, maybe not just fitness goals related, but other things that because of that have made them realize certain things in their life, whether it is to, start a new career, leave their spouse or whatever, but it's sort of, all of that goes together of helping somebody. When I was in college, I wanted to be a psychiatrist. That was sort of at one point I wanted to do that. So I wonder if that's where it comes from now that I'm talking about this. But I really enjoy helping people. I love to give. I love to, get people to a place where they make a difference and a change. I think we're continually growing always. I know I am, and we all do as we continue to grow in life. And I think when people become stagnant, they sort of, they get in a different headset, and it's and I don't want to say is a sort of not depressing, but if they're not moving forward and making changes, people can get stuck, and that can sort of be a dangerous place to be for a lot of people. So I just really love encouraging people and helping them get healthy.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I say complacency breeds mediocrity. It's been one of the things that I've always lived by. And if you're not moving forward, you're not growing, you're not learning, you're standing still, and the world zooms by in many ways. But no, that's very very noble that you and so you kind of are touching on something that, and I'd love you to expand on it if you could. That this focus on activity and exercise. In your words, how does that branch out and help all the other areas, marriage, work, everything? Because you're really saying that there's more to what you do than just exercise.
Yeah, I think what it is that, and we keep referring to exercise, but in the last number of years, we've expanded into more wellness, right? So that's stress management, it's nutrition. Meditation, all of those things that go along. Those are the things I'm talking about. It's not just exercise, although exercise can get you to a certain place. But when you start to really pay attention to what you're eating, the stress levels in your life, there's a level of control that takes over and a level of confidence that a lot of people didn't realize that they had the ability to be greater than that. They think they're confident, yes, and they're in control of their life. But once you start, I always talk about the body. If the body is your machine, right? And you need to fuel it. And if you put, oil in the gas tank, you're going to screw up the car. So it's really about putting the healthy things in your mouth and exercising and finding that stress management and all of those things. Like you said earlier, you're firing on all cylinders. You don't have that brain fog, you're unstoppable. And so when that happens, I think that people sort of shift as to their thinking, like, oh, they're awakened to certain things around them that they may not be happy with, and that they can then feel more confident making changes. Yeah. So I think hopefully that answers that.
Oh, absolutely. So, and I think, and the way I interpret that is, there's curveballs of life that come at us in a steady stream of pitches. And, for us to be in a a position where we feel confident, we feel comfortable, our body's on, running all those cylinders, it's much easier in many cases to be able to navigate all those curveballs and do life. And life is very complicated today. I mean, there's so many different things that are, coming streaming at us in rapid fire, and all these, things we didn't expect, and all these curveballs. So, I think it goes hand in hand. And I think that people today who are stuck on defining the word wellness as, going to the doctor in a proactive sense. No, the terminology really takes on a much more expansive meaning. And as you touched on stress management, you touched on nutrition, you touched on activity, but then the overflow is marriage, the overflow is relationships, the overflow is work relationship. There's so many different things that can come out of this. So you're in that business now with FitKit. You and your sister have done this for 11 years. How have you morphed FitKit to meet today's wellness demands more?
That's a good question. So when we started out, we were selling direct to consumer. It was one product, the FitKit, and it came in a case, and it had all these tools in it, and online resources to sort of help you. So then at the same time, I was doing, or maybe a few years later, I started doing corporate wellness consulting. Corporate wellness was a new buzzword. And I knew somebody, one of my personal training clients was in an HR position at a company. And she said, hey, could you come in and help us figure out a way to engage our employees in activity, to get them moving a little bit more? So I said, sure. So I came in and we designed a program for them. So I started doing consulting more like that with more companies. One of my corporate consulting clients said, hey, that thing that you sell, that FitKit thing, can we put our logo on that and give it to our employees? And I was like, I don't know, let me see. Sure enough, that exactly. So we are able to brand it.
Yeah.
So that sort of catapulted us into a whole different industry, where I would say 90% of our sales were coming from the corporate market. And it was much easier for us to sell 500 or 5,000 than one. So we really pivoted and changed our focus to selling primarily to the corporate market.
Wow.
So that's kind of how that happened. We do still sell direct to consumer. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on the website, although it's a little harder to find it because it's sort of geared towards corporate wellness. But that's kind of how we got to that place. And then we also, another area that became kind of big was the government.
Yeah. Wow.
Once we got certified as a woman-owned business, we started getting noticed by some government agencies. So then we went through the whole process of, and if anybody's listening that has a product or even a service, getting certified to work with the government is huge. The government has tons of money to spend, and they have to spend it, and especially if you are a minority or diversity company. So it's a bit of a pain to get certified for it, but it's well worth it. So once we got certified to work with government agencies, that opened up a whole other door.
Wow.
But it's still under the same corporate wellness umbrella, because it's corporate wellness for the Department of Agriculture or the Department of Education or some of the VA hospitals. VA hospitals is a really big one for us. So they buy it, they give it to their employees. So that's kind of opened up. That whole area.
So what has, and thank you for that, what's been the impetus for corporations to want to outfit one of their employees with this, or a government agency? What are they trying to get out of that gift to the person, or that experience?
Well, so what happens, and it's shifting, which we're trying to shift as well with it, is when this all first started, corporate wellness fell on the shoulders of HR. Right. And so beyond a Biggest Loser challenge or bringing somebody in for a lunch and learn, they didn't know what they were supposed to do. So the FitKit was something that they could give to their employees that comes with everything that their employee needs for a total body workout. And we have an online resource hub that has a 6-week nutrition plan, a 6-week workout plan. You can ask our dietitians and trainers any questions. So it sort of took the onus off of them and gave it to the employees, and they could take it home for their whole family to use. So that's kind of, I think, in their heads, it's a way for them to show their employees they care by giving them these kits. We now have expanded into nutrition kits as well as stress management kits. So depending on what their, if they have certain focuses, maybe it's a nutrition month that they're focusing on, or stress management. So it depends on what it is that their initiatives are within the company.
Yeah. So, no, I appreciate that. So, when you really look at the stress management focus, giving something to an employee that helps that employee get more fit, if you will, and get more well-rounded that way. For people who don't do that, what you pick up when you do that as a person is you pick up and you develop this. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you develop this attitude that is more forgiving. The little things don't nag you as much. You feel better about yourself, so you feel better about what you do. The employers, in turn, get better productivity from people. They get happier productivity, get less problematic issue resolution. There's just... and isn't it funny that it all starts inside every one of us? And it's when we have that, when we take that car in for the right maintenance, preventive maintenance, and treat it right. I'll never forget, and this is an analogy I make, and I 1987, I lived down the street from a gentleman who was worked for one of the GM auto manufacturers, worked in a plant, and he said to me, I'll never forget this. He said, if you just change your oil every 3,000 miles, just change your oil, everything else will run better. Your tailpipes will last longer. Your exhaust system won't get as rusty as quick, because if you feed it right, the engine right, that thing is just going to run cooler, smoother, and all the rest of the pieces don't get all jumbled up. And I think it's the same way with us, and you could probably relate to that as well as I can. Correct?
Exactly. That's exactly it. And we rebranded a couple of years ago because I sort of felt like our message wasn't getting across. And that is that we wanted to instill healthy habits, make it really, really simple for people to get healthy. And, our motto is, one of them is, wellness is too important to be complicated. Yeah. So we basically simplified it. We're giving you the tools to make it easy, baby steps, start to incorporate these lifestyle changes to make them become habits, because once they become habits, you're unstoppable. It's not even a question. You just kind of do it and it becomes who you are. And if you notice, then when you fall out of that, how crappy you feel, and you're not getting the very good sleep. You're not being as productive at work. You're not being, the better husband or wife that you could be, all of those things, you start to notice a difference. Yeah.
And just funny you say that, I even if I have a little lull or an injury of some sort, or I'm off for 3 or 4 days. It's funny when I lay on my heart side at night in bed, it's those like 4 days after I have an exercise that I can feel my heart pumping. It's aggravating, but yet, when if I went for a run early in the morning or whatever, and my day was built on that foundation, man, I just don't even feel my heart pumping. At 62 years old, I mean, you're conscientious of those things, and I just sleep better. It's a quieter, it's a less aggravated sleep, if you will, and it's just amazing.
We actually have in one of the stress management kits, our Live Well kit has a set of little cards, and they're called mindfulness cards. And it's got different sections of how to do meditation, how to do deep breathing, how to get better sleep, things to do to create happiness in your life. So there's all kinds of just so simple little tips and tricks. People carry that around in their bag. They have it at their desk. And it's just got a whole wealth of information. Very simple things to do. It tells you, how do you meditate? People say, I don't know how to meditate. Sure, everybody can meditate. Right. Follow these steps. It's so simple. So again, that's our trying to make things very simple for people, because I think when you make something a little overwhelming and too much, people shut down, right? We don't want that to happen. So,
you're on the SimpleBiz360, and so listen, let me tell you something. As I read through your company and your company culture and everything, I put a smile on my face because I realized, oh my gosh, the word simple, the concept of simplicity, your new tagline, it's you just speak simplicity into everything, and it's a cornerstone of what you do. And yes, in today's society, isn't it so much easier to do things, run businesses in a more simplified way, give products that are more simplified to use, make choices more simplified. And guys, if you've never, there's one in the snack stack here we'll get to too on nutrition, but this is just, they're on little key rings. So you can't.
Yeah, those are the nutrition cards.
Yeah, you can't lose this, and this is just great. This is just packed with information. So you get all this in one of the kits, in one of these zipper kits here. And by the way, we are an affiliate with FitKit. So if you go through our SimpleBiz website, you can go right through, order through there, and we'll get some credit. You could go on our YouTube channel and find too. So yeah, we're all about it, and I fell in love with this product. And just want to encourage somebody who's never used resistance bands, who's never used there's a lot of people that think that weight-bearing load exercise has to be done with weights. And I'll just tell you that if you've never tried one of these, you're missing out. I switched to resistance bands in 1992. I used to lift weights quite a bit. And you remember a gentleman named, or the name Bobby Hines at all?
No.
Did I name it ever? Lifeline? Did Lifeline ever?
Oh, that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Bobby Hines, his father founded Lifeline. So I had picked up one of their zipper kits in Houston when I was at an Academy Sports in 1992. I was in Houston. I picked it up and I started traveling with it and working with it, because I would do this before I went out for a run on my hotel. I traveled quite a bit during the course of a week, and I've never left. And in fact, they got a hold of me maybe about 1995 and said, hey, if we could float some of our newer innovations over to you, would you be willing to test them and then just give us so I was actually a beta tester for them for about 3 years. And, I got to tell Mr. Hines what I thought of this new innovation or this new change they made. And, it's got a snap-in dumbbell or bar, so you can actually take this and, instead of having some of the systems they do now and like yours, this was just, it went into a bar and then you kind of used it as a weightlifting piece. But I mean, man, I'll tell you what, talk a little bit about the linear muscles and how much different the muscle toning is with a resistance band versus weights.
The word I like to use is pliable.
Mm-hmm.
It almost elongates the muscle a lot more. Heavier weights, it can kind of, you don't get it, it's too heavy and too much weight on the muscle at one time. It's also, resistance bands are a lot easier on the joints, which is what's really nice.
Yes.
And resistance bands, you kind of think, well, a resistance band, what if I want to do heavier or do lighter? All you have to do is change the adjustment on it. This comes with, I don't know if you have it on there right now, but there's a little door anchor. It's probably in the kit.
Yeah, it is in the kit. Yeah, I don't use it.
And what you do is you put that in the door, so it turns it into like a cable machine at the gym.
Yeah. Right
and so it's just, exactly. And then there's a little set of cards that show you how to do all the exercises, or then you can even go online and get those. But the resistance bands are just much easier on the body, so much easier on the body. And I'm not saying not to do weights, because I'll be honest, I do them every so often just because it's nice to shake things up a little bit. But because all of the fit kits can, be thrown into a suitcase when you travel, and you can do it on the road, you can do it anywhere. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You don't need to have dumbbells. You don't need to have a gym.
Correct. So, this is about the size of, I travel with a Sony speaker when I go to hotels, and I use a Sony speaker with my iPad or with my phone or whatever. And so it's about the size of that, the one I have. I have a Bose speaker as well, pretty much the size of that too. So it doesn't take up much spot in the suitcase. But, in this particular kit, you get a nice belt so you can put your cell phone and everything in the belt, which is great.
I don't know if you've tried that. It doesn't bounce.
Yeah, right. Oh,
it lays flat and it can fit so much in there. That's my favorite thing. I don't go anywhere without that.
Yeah. So your iPhones can fit in there. It's got some spandex in there to move. You've got, which I haven't used this, but you've got the big rubber band.
Resistance band.
Yeah. Yep. So it's another different take on, instead of these classic resistance bands, but this is something, and again, in your resource hub, you've got a lot of information and advice on how to use this properly. And I just, I love your little cards. I love your resource hub because you do have a lot of information that you offer, and consistent with everything that you send is just this little, this little back piece here that this little 3-piece segment that just has, need a little extra motivation, the resource hub, and just kind of lets you know that there's a nutrition plan, there's exercise library, there's coaches and videos, and all of that is on AMIE's resource hub, which is just, you've laid your company out so well, and I really admire the fact that, you want to try to help give people a little more balance to life. And as if we haven't noticed, a lot more people are now remote. They're working out of the house.
Yep.
And now there's more flexibility in the daily schedule. You don't have to get up at 5:30 and get on the highway by 6:30 and navigate all the traffic. There's different things. So now there's more time for this exercise. There's more time for better nutritional habits to complement a workout program. And you know what? If nothing else, I say always just start walking and just get your body walking at a brisk pace for 20 minutes. And then, it becomes easier to say, boy, I'd like to get into something else. And, if you're starting from scratch, like a lot of people do, and I'd love you to touch on this a little bit, but if you're 45 and you've never really been active, and all of a sudden you want to start being active, I can tell you, I'm sure AMIE can elaborate more, your muscles are going to be sore. You're going to feel, even after a walk, you're going to feel a little uncomfortable. Those are good pains. Stick through it, work through it. And, I'm amazed at some of the little nagging injuries I've had in my life that I just run through. And I go, you know what? Is this really worth me not running for 2 days? No. And you know what? Next thing I know, it's gone, whatever it was, these little minor aggravations. And so
a lot of it too is just the body repairing from the exercise you did to it. And the other thing too is that flexibility, right? So people go out and do a 7-mile run, come home, do something, get in the car and drive for 2 hours, and not really stretch out the body because, you've just been pounding or whatever, you're jumping rope, jumping jacks, or whatever it is that you're doing. You really need to stretch back out those muscles. And the good thing too is that the exercise library for anybody, you don't even have to have a FitKit. You can just go on our website, fitkit.com, go to the exercise library, pull up all the flexibility exercises, and they're all there. They're for our whole thing. We want to help people. You don't have to buy a FitKit to get a lot of the resources that come with it. So the exercise library flexibility moves are golden, and it'll really help people who are just starting out because, people get a little nervous. They're not quite sure what they're supposed to do, especially afterwards, and they are feeling a little bit sore. Just do some light stretches, and that will help kind of speed up the recovery process.
Excellent point. So I think, AMIE, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your kits are really golden for 2 main reasons. This is a golden product line if you want to start and start small and learn your way into a wider world of, fitness. And then for somebody who is fit and they travel a lot, this is a great tone kit. It's a great way to keep going during the week and in your hotel rooms, which I've learned 100 nights a year, if you're going to be fit, you're going to have to exercise on the road, and you got to figure out how to do it. And you have to figure out how to do it in ways that work for you. And yes, I love running anywhere I go. That's one of the cool things about loving running. I strap up, lace up, and I go out, and I don't care where I am. I find some streets. I case it out the night before with the car. Like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And I find neighborhoods. I find parks. I find industrial whatever, hills. I'll do hill runs tomorrow. I figure, okay, all I got with me is really a steep hill. I'll do it 8 times and then bring my resistance bands and all that stuff. And you really, you learn ways to keep it going. And, but a great way to start
Yeah.
your walk. So elaborate on this if you could a little bit. The snack stack. What are we really looking here when someone orders this? What are they really getting out of this?
So what that is so that's our snack stack. It's a portion control stack. So there's 4 different containers, and then there's that little strawberry wrap thing inside there. If you open that up, on the back, it'll show you different things that can go in each section and calorie count for them. So whether it be carrots or blueberries or almonds or almond butter, hummus, it kind of gives you ideas of what to put in there so that it's really sort of helps you control your portions. And that also comes with the nutrition cards that you had, which I love those. Those are talking about for somebody who's starting out. That has substitution lists, Sunday prep ideas, so that Sunday night you cook up all the food that you have for the week. It's got, how do you eat out healthy, all kinds of tips and tricks inside there. So those 2 items come inside either the case or the bag. We have both options now.
Little
So
recipes, recipes in here.
Yeah, there's recipes in there. Yeah, I love those. Those are so much fun.
It's really a novel concept. I mean, and these are really well put together and so easy. And again, so great to have on the road. But you're so right. This gives you a little diversity. Gives you some protein, some fruit, some other options, and that you take that to if you are going into an office, you can travel with that, or if you're out for the car. I mean, we've learned. Okay, we're taking an 8-hour car ride. Is it really fast food 4 hours later, or is there another option,
Right, exactly. And that's also good. People put their protein powder or their vitamins, and, it's just a way to kind of keep everything contained.
Yeah. Very, very good. Very good. So what have, you've been an entrepreneur. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. You've been in business 11 years. You've really found your groove on what you want to do and how you want to help, with your products. What advice could you give to a young entrepreneur who's kind of just starting out, whatever they may be? I mean, what would be your best piece of advice you could pass on?
Ask for help. That was so hard for me to do because I thought, who wants to help me? I feel guilty asking for help. I'm that person. I'm independent. I can do everything myself. And once I started asking for help, it was amazing what people were willing to help you with. It was crazy. So that I would say definitely check that out. The other thing I would do is create opportunities for yourself, right? So explore a lot of different options, which is something that we have just done recently in the last couple of years. And it's turned out now to be it looks like it's going to be another huge revenue stream for us. And that's the promotional market.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Of course, you put the brand on. So we started to explore that. And I found a couple of distributors that were willing to sort of give me some advice and some help. And that has really turned into a whole new industry for us. Yeah. So, it's not being afraid to go after things that might not sound right at the beginning, or might sound too daunting, or you don't even know how to do it, but just take baby steps and go and just ask for help. Because the truth is that we all have it inside of us. But there's a fear that sort of we hold on to that is, we're not good enough. We're just, oh, that'll never happen to me kind of thing. Why not? You could, it's just a matter of really putting yourself out there, trusting yourself, being confident that you can do it, and ask for help.
Thank you for that. Do you still, I know it's happened to me on occasion, you battle this little voice in your head that said, you can't, you can't do that. Speak to that a little bit. Do you wrestle with that, or did you wrestle with that at all?
I still do wrestle with that. Absolutely. I do. And then all of a sudden I get an email that, shifts my mind to think like, what was I thinking? And I try not to let myself go to that negative place. And this has been a muscle that I've had to work a lot over the last year. And that is when I think it's something negative, I figure out what the positive is to it instead. And like, okay, well, if this is the case, then what's the solution? Yeah. I can't complain. I'm not allowed to complain unless I have a solution. Yeah. So that's kind of how I handle it. I just really try to think of the positive. If something is really negative, I take it in and then I let it go.
I love that. I love that. So unless you can't complain, unless, you have to have a solution, but if you don't have one, you can complain. Right. So,
Exactly. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that's so great because there are so many people, I think, and myself included, that, you get beat down sometimes and you think, oh my gosh, I'm just not worthy of this. I can't do it. Who am I to say, to do this? And go ahead.
I have a perfect example. This is the perfect example. A number of years ago, 4 years ago, I wanted to go on Shark Tank. And I thought, oh, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do that. That's like, just the process of it. I'm going to get shot down. I don't have the confidence to be up in front of all of those people. And I just started asking around about Shark Tank. And funny enough, I found somebody, she's actually a good friend of mine now, who said, well, I'm really good friends with Barbara Corcoran. Why don't you talk to her? And I thought, oh my God, no, I can't. I froze. I'm like, no, I'm not, I'm not ready for that. Right.
Yeah.
So 6 months later, she's like, why don't you talk to Barbara? You really, I'm like, no, I'm still not ready for that. And then finally I just said, what the hell am I waiting for? So luckily I got a meeting with her, and I wasn't asking for money. It was just a one-on-one meeting to ask for help.
Yeah.
So I had to put myself in that position to ask Barbara Corcoran, who, all I wanted was for information. She was getting nothing from me,
Right.
Taking time out of her day. And that, I get emotional thinking about it because I was so scared. I just thought there was no way in hell I could do this. Why is somebody going to help me? And I went through the process of it. When it was over, she and I had the best conversation, and she helped me with so many things to grow. I was like, why didn't I do it sooner?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm very emotional about it.
Oh, wow.
Why didn't I do it sooner? So that's why I say, don't be afraid to ask for help. You're going to be surprised at the people who are going to be knocking down the door. People love to talk about themselves, first of all, and they love to be able to help when you ask. So I highly recommend that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I know, I appreciate, and we, in our book, we title it Third Party Influencers. And one of the things I've fallen in love with is, we can't, and everyone has access to this, we can't always talk to those people. We can't, talk to those business giants who are no longer with us, but they can talk to us, and we can get, we can read and we can immerse ourselves in what they have to say. And there's so much good information if you're willing to absorb it and willing to expand and willing to, move forward. And so, yeah, I think one of the things that I think is consistent with most entrepreneurs, and I find it myself very important, is to you're continually urged to look in the rearview mirror. And I say, don't, just look. The rearview mirror is small. The windshield's big.
That's
look,
a good point.
Look at the windshield and look what's ahead of you. And, you're going to have people that, for whatever reason, they're going to say, if you're a young entrepreneur and you started something, you invented something, you've got something, they're going to say, you can never do it. You don't know if they're, jealous of you. You don't know if they, wish that or thought that they, could invent something better, or they could do something. You don't know what's going on here, but there's a lot of people that don't want to see you succeed. And you don't get sucked down by some of that naysayer activity, because it's out there. And, I think in this world of social media likes, if you don't get a like and you don't get 100 of them, you feel like, oh my gosh, I've lost out. I don't have it. And, I mean, listen, I wrestle with the same thing. How come I don't have more subscribers? How come I didn't have more likes? But you know what? You just have to be passionate about what you do. You know why you did it. You know why you are going down this road, and keep looking in the windshield. I mean,
I love that.
So, I mean, it's, it's interesting. And, no, your stuff is just so cool. Your story's great. Is there anything you think I forgot to ask you that you'd love to say?
Oh gosh, no, I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think so. I mean, I think we covered a lot. I think that it just really comes down to that fear, that we all hear in our heads. And do what you can to get out of that, and just take baby steps. And I think that that's one of the things that I wish I had learned, early on. I kind of learned everything through experience. I didn't really have anybody to teach me all of those things. But now I've surrounded myself with mentors, and actually I've been holding off writing an email to somebody who I really want to ask some help of in the promotional industry. And I haven't written the email. It's been 2 weeks. And I know that it's just because I'm afraid, and I am going to do it. I had put a deadline that I have to do it by the end of the weekend. And I know that's going to be huge. So,
well, that's
so not all of us, we haven't forgotten or lost that fear. We all have it, but it's what you do with that.
yeah.
Well,
Really absolutely. Well, and I want to compliment you on something because, we're talking a lot about your invention, your innovation, what you and Beth have decided is the centrality of what you want to do and how you want to help people. But in the process, you've also created a set of business transactional processes that are very admirable. And I encourage anybody in HR listening to this, anybody at the corporate level, anybody who's thinking about, dabbling in this in the promotional vein. I read some of the reviews from some of your customers online, and one caught my eye about simplicity, but there was one that caught my eye, and we're all about that at SimpleBiz. And they really complimented the experience, that it was really a painless experience, that you've created a set of ordering conditions, transactional conditions, that is not difficult, which I really, I think is admirable, because in the long run, nobody wants to engage in something that's going to be hard and arduous and, take a lot of time. So, did you and Beth conscientiously bake that into your company, or?
Not necessarily. I think that it just came from my wanting to treat people as if I were in their shoes. And I treat somebody who places an order for 25 units as the same as 25,000 units.
Bingo.
They're no different to me. And we make the process so easy because each person we pay attention to.
Right.
We try not to let things fall through the cracks, and we just, if we're taking on too much, we say, "Whoa, okay, let's wait," because we don't want to screw anything up. And so far, I'm happy to say we get things turned around pretty quick, really high quality, and it's just the customer service. That's really what it is, and it's just part of who we are, is our culture. So it kind of is baked into the whole culture of the business, just naturally, luckily. Thankfully.
Well, so refreshing to hear that, 25 units is the same as 25,000. A lot of companies there are a lot of people that weigh the time and effort and level of response and differently. And you look at it as just, hey, we're still serving people here, and that's what we want to, focus on with.
Yes. But what I've learned from that, interestingly enough, is that if you think about it, right? So those fit kits, a company orders 25, gives them out to 25 employees. They take it home. Husband or wife sees it. Oh, whoa, I need this for my company. Takes it into HR. We get a call for 5,000 units.
Right.
So there's a reason, not just because I'm looking for more money, but it's because they are no different, because they can be bringing me the same amount of income at some point too, but they deserve just as much of a great treatment as somebody else.
And so well put. And I think in this world of social media, even more so, one unit can lead to way more things you ever thought of just via social media than 1,000 units of something, 1,000 people doing it. So, you never know who you're touching. You never know who you're affecting. You never know who's falling in love with this. And it's, it's the influencers out there are, sometimes they make us, sometimes they break us, but you guys you got a great company. I applaud you for it. It's really exciting. So tell everybody watching and listening, and I apologize for some of the listening folks that can't see some of this stuff. If you ever want to go, you can go on SimpleBiz360.com. We'll always have this episode, the YouTube version of it, up. You don't have to be signed into YouTube to watch it. You could just watch it from our website, and you could see some of the things we have displayed here. But for everyone's listening and watching, what are the social media handles and URLs that they can get in touch with you on?
Across the board, we're FitKit Wellness.
Okay.
FITKIT Wellness.
Pretty easy to remember, and that's great. And then HR, if anybody in the corporate world wants to engage in, they're watching and they say, hey, you know what, we want to get something for our event coming up or something for our, awards platform. What's your suggestion? How do they get in touch with you? What can they expect?
They can easily go to the website, poke around, see what products they're interested in, and we now have a calculator on the site. So you can say, well, you know what? I want 500 units of the Pro, and I want to brand the case, and I want to brand the cards, and I want it in a bag, not a case. It'll tell you exactly unit per price. And then you simply put your name and submit it, and we put together a quote. And we also have a section on there where you can contact us if you're interested in getting samples, because of course we like people to have the samples so they know exactly what it is that they're getting. So that's something that we encourage people to do too.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Amy. So we love to end every show just by asking our guest, what is a favorite rock and roll song to them that means something, that touches a chord? Maybe it's a Lost in the Shuffle track for you. Maybe it's not. But what song hits you and really feels you want to put on the show today?
Well, it was something that somebody brought to my attention not too long ago, and I'm going to botch the name. I believe it's 100 Lives.
100 Years? Yeah.
100 Years.
Yeah.
And there's something about it. It really sort of makes you reflect on your life. And, it's funny that you said that about the rear view mirror, because I look in that rearview mirror and I go, wow, look how far I've come.
Yeah.
But I look in the front and I see how far I've got to go and how much room there is and the opportunities. But that song just sort of really makes you look back on your life and kind of go, okay, where was I when I was 15 and what did I know? Where was I when I was 25, knowing that I still had all this life to live?
Yeah. So
it just sort of, makes you think about life, which I think everybody should do every once in a while, kind of where you are, do, a status check of where you are presently, where you've been, how far you've come. Because I don't think we each give ourselves enough credit, because when I really think about back through the years, you go, wow, I really accomplished a lot. But then also you look ahead to what it is that you really want to accomplish.
Yeah. And it kind of looks at life in a totality sense of, it's really a cool song. So 100 Years, 5 for Fighting, which I've never been in, I'm kind of stuck in some of the older stuff. So, when I hear some of this newer stuff, but great tune. So we're going to have a little card up on, so if you go into the upper right-hand corner of our YouTube visual experience, you're going to see a little card there, folks, and it's going to have a video that Amy passed on to us of this song, and so you can click on that and just hear it and listen to it and watch it, and it's very cool. So, we thank you so much. Thank you for, helping people find ways to get more healthy. And we just, we love it. And thank you so much for being on the show, carving out this time. Say hello to your sister, Beth. Say hello to Mark. And thank you so much, Amy.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. It was nice to do this.
Thank you very much. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.